What zones should I train in and how easy is easy?
Strong like a tree, there's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon.
Like one of the big topics at the minute is a lot of zone 2 training, or you can call it periodization in training. It's kind of like what a lot of pros have done for years now. And the reason that they're able to do that, if you look at, like you read all the science blurb about like training metrics and the adaptation to training, find that like doing super easy and super hard with basically the super easy is like lots of volume, and then you'll do like some intensity within it. And I do believe, and I've trained athletes that way, and it does work for people that have got like a lot of time, like you've got like anywhere between like your 15 to 30 hours ultimately. I think if you look at like the general working person with a family, then you're going to see like anywhere between like 6 to 12 hours. And I'm a big believer in, I don't think that form of training necessarily works. I think there's periods whereby you need to do, like your easy rides and your zone 2 rides, but the majority is you've got to build like some form of like quality in there. Like what I've personally found that works for me and a lot of athletes that I coach, it's a lot of tempo and like a lot of sweet spot work, like working in like that 80 to 90%. Some people watching this video are going to say, well, like that's the grey area, and the science suggests that's not necessarily the best way of training, but the results I've seen from it myself for the time crunched athlete, it generally like works like really well. And then just depending on where you are in like those phases of training, I think you've always got to build like some form of intensity, and that can be like incorporating like micro burst efforts, so like anywhere between like 10 to 30 seconds, or some like like your VO2 max. Like there's a lot around doing like 30 intervals and doing like 10-minute blocks with 30. You generally work around like 130 to 150% of your FTP. Generally you want to go as hard as you can like in those efforts, but if you want a number on it, that's where I'd go. And then you go like super easy, and you could do like 3 blocks of that, and then incorporate some form of VO2 max work, and that can be doing anything between like 4 to 6 intervals of 3 to 5 minutes generally, and then you just need to work out a recovery time like in between them. But I think for the time crunched athlete, it's the variation in training that I've always found has always given me the biggest rewards. And that doesn't matter if you're like you're starting out in the sport, or there's like one lady that I coach who's like in the 70s. It's the variation, that I include in those training blocks. And a good question is like when it does come to like easy, how easy is easy? It is easy, you know what I mean? Like you've got to look at like where your thresholds lie with your heart rate, like your training zones. But almost like you should be like, if you perceive exertion, you should be going out and just being able to talk. And it's even like when you climb, like you just want to not go into like the grey area. You should be getting out of the saddle. You shouldn't like lose breath. So you just want to build like those recovery days in, and there should be recovery days every day of the week. You should have like one easy session, if not 2 per week a lot of the time. That's what I found has always given like the biggest rewards. And the biggest thing is with all of this is like how you adapt to training to how I adapt to training to the next person. It's always going to be so different. So never lose sight of like you as an individual, but ultimately what you're training towards. Like what are the demands of your event? Where are your weaknesses lie, and obviously like your strengths, and then you can apply like your training program. A lot of this isn't rocket science, it's just working on like a consistent training program. I think that's the biggest thing that's going to give you the biggest reward. Is consistency is key with a lot of this. There's not one method, it's a variation, and ultimately if you've got a coach, it's just the feedback and them listening to you, and it's going to give you the biggest rewards really. So like a lot of this stuff, just try it yourself. Like this is my opinion, someone else is going to have another one, and then you can make up your own mind what's going to work for you.